You're listening to MicroPROgressions, FIT Writing and Speaking Studio tutors on thinking and thriving. Hi, I'm William. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a film and media student at FIT, and I am a writing tutor at the Writing and Speaking Studio.
Hi, I'm India. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a visual presentation and exhibition design major, and I'm a writing tutor at the Writing and Speaking Studio.
Well, India, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right. How about you?
I'm all right too. It's getting warmer in Queens where I'm at. Where are you right now?
I'm in Manhattan. Yeah, it's very sunny out.
Have you been able to go out and do stuff lately?
No.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to spring break coming up because then I can go hike and go to parks and stuff. But, FIT grind.
So the topic of this episode is our show's title, MicroPROgressions. What are they and how can we achieve them? And so our lovely guest today, India, you're actually kind of the originator of the term for our studio, at least. So I was wondering, if could you explain what MicroPROgressions are and how you came across that term?
Sure. I wrote this out, so it will sound very textbook. All right. A microprogression is a statement, action, or incident that occurs in our sessions to better enhance the writer's confidence, independence, and critical understanding of language and rhetorical possibility. Meanwhile, rebutting the negativity and discouragement students have received in response to, and unjustly so, their ethnicity, gender, and/or language, which impose upon their writing, speaking, and learning experiences. Yeah, so the microprogressions idea arose in a small staff meeting when we were discussing our code of ethics. So I think this was last semester. And I thought it was a funny pun, and I'm the type of person to laugh at my own jokes. So I said it, but then the word really expanded the conversation. We were discussing the small acts that tutors have witnessed in the writing and speaking studio that we felt may have an impact on students. And we all hope that such acts, these microprogressions, could help in the movement to counteract microaggressions that many of us tutors and other students have faced.
I love that, yeah. And now the studio really prides itself on trying to maintain and keep up with those microprogressions.
Yeah, but the idea of microprogressions really all stemmed from the work everybody did on the code of ethics, because that's how the conversation got started.
And I know you said that these were definitely an attempt to combat micro aggressions, and so were there anything going on at the time during these discussions that really prompted you to think of that?
So we were talking about Clause 2 of the Code of Ethics, which is a document that's available on the Writing Speaking Studio website, and you can see the morals and the goals of the writing studio and how it affects students, teachers, and everybody in our community. So Clause 2 is about educating ourselves about anti-racism, social justice, and translingual pedagogies, so that our practice reflects an appreciation of and respect for different cultures, dialects, accents, and regional colloquialisms and vernaculars in order to help end discrimination in educational spaces and decolonize academia in regards to literacy and speech. So that clause, very wordy, a lot of vocab words. So we were well, what actually are these things? What's going on? And we were talking about why this clause is important, and it's because as a diverse group of students at FIT, we all have similar or very different experiences, and just being in a diverse environment can be overwhelming, and you may experience microaggressions, which is an incident or statement or something that intentionally or unintentionally is directed towards you based on your race, your sexuality, maybe like your language you speak, your skin color, a range of things, but they're all like marginalizing factors. And we were like, how is that affecting our education? Sometimes it's sexism, like the majority of FIT is female. But despite that, a lot of female students are like, well, a guy will say something that I said like 30 seconds ago and he gets praised for it. Or, yeah, or the same thing happens if like a white student says that as opposed to like a black student. So we were talking about these incidents, and then we were considering how we counteract that in the writing studio, and we want people's voices to come through in their writing, and they shouldn't be silenced.
I love that. Really well said, and I'm glad that you addressed like these issues that were happening. And so, how do you see microprogressions happening in our writing?
This story is also included in the Code of Ethics, but I was once working with a student who was learning English as a second language. And they were feeling really anxious about their writing, and were always told to structure and write in the perfect English standard. But that just didn't make sense. In this session, they wanted to use a word in their first language to describe a feeling in an art piece, and they ultimately found a way to incorporate the term and teach it to their audience. So we were able to talk about how their first language could actually benefit their writing despite what they had been told by others.
So, yeah, I mean, in this case, like you turn something that maybe normally would have harmed the student's writing according to the professor or whoever was going to be grading this and turn into something that could be like an educational moment for their readers, but also just for themselves to really just incorporate everything that they wanted to talk about.
Absolutely. And these microprogressions, I think they happen all the time. And now we just like came up with a name for it in our like work meeting. So just to help us identify what we do that we feel is beneficial to the student. A lack of trust inhibits discussion. And I don't think that's a frequent issue at the writing and speaking studio. Like many students come into writing centers to work specifically with other students.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not the professor, or maybe it's outside of the environment where they might have experienced some sort of microaggression or some discouragement in their writing. So there's a mutual understanding.
I really like the whole trust element that you brought up. Because I mean, writing is such an intimate process to begin with, and now you have to share with someone. Like, oh, geez.
Yeah, and that can be so overwhelming for a lot of the students that come in who aren't confident in their English writing.
Mm-hmm. So you've experienced microprogressions as a tutor, helping other students like come across them in your work. But I'm also just curious about you because you're also a student. Like, have you ever felt microprogressions in maybe other appointments with other tutors or just in classes in general?
Yeah. So in my writing, I think at least one instance that really like stuck with me, it happened in high school. So I guess my first ever microprogression happened with my English teacher in like my senior year. There was an issue I was facing that ultimately boiled down to sexism and misogyny, and my English teacher encouraged me to write about the situation as part of my, I think, college essays. And through the conversations I had, I was able to recognize not only like the challenges I'd face in academia, like moving forward as a woman, but also how to use my voice and overcome it. I can't remember the specific details of the conversation, but it had a lasting impact. And my high school didn't have a writing center, but if we did, like at FIT, I truly think I would have experienced that help much more frequently, and so would so many other students. And I hope students here at FIT can take advantage of the resources we do have.
Definitely. I think something that helps is that we're all just fed up with school and everything. So it's like, come on.
Something we talk about in the writing studio is like the structure of our essays. In sessions, people come in sometimes to organize their thoughts. And the standard differs between cultures. But I don't think we should always follow the standard American high school structure. There's other ways to express our ideas. You went to high school in New York,
I did, yeah.
so you took the Regents.
God. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's the outline that I would write all my essays in. It's the Regents expectation. And it took me a while to get out of that. And I try not to impose it on other students either. But there are other like writing standards that are expected sometimes. Like in a business analysis paper, there is a structure that you usually follow. But there are ways to include like your personality in your paper and make it interesting for your audience.
Definitely. I'm curious to hear like how you like got out of writing in a very specific structure and format. Like how would you suggest other people who may want to like explore their writing styles like that?
Well, I finally strayed from that structure when I took creative nonfiction.
And that's a course at FIT, right?
Yeah, it's a course at FIT uh, where it's nonfiction, it's real life stuff, but it's creative writing, so it doesn't follow a standard flow. And that really forced my brain to consider how I guess, approach writing in all aspects. Maybe take another class, but if you can't take another class, write in a journal. Try poetry. I didn't always like poetry. I thought it was kind of silly, but now I took a few poetry classes and I'm like, oh, this is fun. It's just different formats of expressing ideas. So, yeah, just try it out.
Is there like any like last things that you may want to say on the topic of microprogressions?
I guess. Okay. In conclusion, for all writers, know that your voice matters, and hearing that voice come through in your writing can only improve your communication skills.
Thanks for listening to this episode of MicroPROgressions, FIT Writing and Speaking Studio Tutors on Thinking and Thriving. If you're a student at the Fashion Institute of Technology, we offer one-on-one consultations with writing and speaking tutors to help you develop and present your ideas, written or spoken.
You can schedule online appointments at fit.mywconline.com and find us on Instagram at FIT Write Speak.
Thanks for listening and tune in next time.